Hi YouTube, my name is NintendoFanGirl, and beginning today, my goal is to upload a Pokemon Masters video every Monday, instituting Masters Mondays. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more Pokemon Masters content, among other things, of course. In this current series, we're walking through the basics of Pokemon Masters, but in an in-depth way. I think at the end of the day, it's going to help both you and me become better Pokemon Masters trainers. We're going to be the best masters that we can possibly be. And being that this is the first video in the series, we are going to focus on sync pairs today, because if you don't know what a sync pair is, you're going to have a hard time making your way through Pokemon Masters. So let's begin exploring sync pairs. What is a sync pair? If you're familiar with other Pokemon games, you know that typically you have one trainer that teams up with up to 6 Pokemon on one team. But you can throw that knowledge directly out the window because you don't need it. That is not how Pokemon Masters operates. In Masters, the game focuses on individual pairs that consist of one trainer and one Pokemon, and that's it. That is what a sync pair is, and you can see on screen right here we have Karen and Houndoom. That's an example. That is one sync pair. Typically, sync pairs are well-known trainers. Here we have Blaine and his Ponyta, or their gym leaders. Here we have Lance and Dragonite. What better pair than that? For the most part, they aren't completely made up out of the blue pairs. They're pairs that have come to be from prior Pokemon properties. You do start the game with one sync pair, and that is of you, your main character that you customize yourself with Pikachu. And then after that, you obtain other sync pairs throughout the game. And there are 3 main ways that you obtain these sync pairs. The first one is through story chapters, through the main story. As you progress through the game, through the story, you do earn certain sync pairs that are scripted into the game. Just for example, if we look at this first chapter here, you do challenge Rosa and her Snivy, and after you defeat them, you earn Rosa and Snivy as a sync pair, and then you can fight with them in the future. The second way that you can earn sync pairs is through something that's called sync pair scouting, which is when you use gems, which are a form of currency in the game. You can actually pull sync pairs at random, depending on a bunch of different things. In this method, the odds of the sync pair that you receive are determined by the banner that is showing at that time. So right now, this is what's called a banner. This is quote-unquote the promotion that's going on, for lack of a better term. And so this will change from time to time. Right now we have Steven and Metagross, or you can see there's also a banner right now for Lyra and Brendan. And basically what that just means is you have different odds for different trainers. If you're doing the Steven and Metagross banner, then you have better odds of pulling that trainer sync pair. If you're doing the Brendan and Lyra one, you have better odds of pulling those sync pairs, etc., etc. You can actually see on the bottom right here, there's a button that says offering rate. You can always click that, and you can see what your odds of pulling each trainer are. Obviously, the odds are going to be much higher that you end up pulling a 3-star sync pair. There's a bunch of 3 stars and then a bunch of 4 stars and just like a handful of 5 stars. Right now there's something called a Poke Fair going on, so there's actually a much better odds of pulling a 5-star sync pair. 10% is pretty good. But those change from time to time depending on what the banner is, whether there's a Poke Fair going on, etc. And it's probably really tiny on your screen, but you can see up at the top of this banner the end date for when this banner will expire, and then there will be something else in its place by then, and that is March 16th at 2 a.m. So you just have to keep that in mind if you're going for a specific sync pair that has a banner up, that they're always going to be limited. We're going to do a few fun polls at the end of this episode, so stay tuned if you want to see exactly what those sync pair scouts look like. We'll give that a shot all on our own.
Hope I see you again.
And then the third and final way to obtain sync pairs that I know of is through events. And there's 2 main different ways that you would be obtaining a sync pair through an event. One is just a event where you basically log in, you push a button, you watch a little cutscene, and you get the Pokemon sync pair. Right now, there is actually an event going on for Mew and Professor Oak, where all you have to do is log in before March 16th, I believe, and you will earn Professor Oak and Mew as a sync pair. They're just yours to have. Other events work differently, where you actually earn vouchers, and then the vouchers can be exchanged for specific sync pairs depending on what the event is. So right now there's a grass type training event, as you can see. And if you earn enough vouchers by, grinding through these bosses, by battling them over and over again, you get more vouchers every time. If you earn those vouchers, you can exchange them for, in this case, Rosa and Snivy or Erica and Vileplume. And you may already have these sync pairs, but it's also beneficial to get duplicates of sync pairs because up to 5 times you can actually level up the sync move level. So on top of trying to get all of the sync pairs, it is beneficial to get duplicates of them all. It's a little complicated, that's why we're doing this in-depth kind of walkthrough here. In a future episode, we are going to go a bit deeper on events, on how they function and how to best utilize them, but we're not going to go too far in that right now. I just want it to be known that that is one of the ways that you obtain sync pairs. So let's say you've been playing for a little bit, you've gotten some sync pairs, but you don't really know how to optimize them, what they do, who they are, how to learn more. It's actually very easy. To view your sync pairs, you go over into the Poryphone in the bottom right hand corner. He's just sitting down there. When you click that, there's a button for Dex. And in this Pokedex, or rather I guess sync pair Dex, you can see all of the sync pairs that you've earned, and you can also see the sync pairs that are darkened, which are sync pairs that you haven't earned. So for example, I did so many pulls to try and get Christmas Rosa with Delibird and no dice. I never got her, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and she's darkened. I can't see their moveset, I can't see most of their details. I just know that they exist as a sync pair that I will not have, and I really hope come back next holiday season. So now you know where to find your sync pairs, but what are you actually looking at? What information can you draw from these? Let's start with your main trainer and Pikachu, just because that's something that I know everyone has access to. Basically, when you click their Dex entry, you get a little descriptor for the trainer and for the Pokemon in the sync pair. It has the name of the sync move. In this case, it's Thunder of Newfound Passion. Great, good name. And if you have that sync pair, then you have a little plus button that's right next to your trainer. And when you click that, you can actually see the entire moveset, this Pokemon's strengths and weaknesses, and their role, as well as right now we can see what the stats Pikachu has at level 1 are, but you can check the stats when they're max leveled as well. We are going to get a little bit more into the movesets in a very short while, but I just wanted to point out 2 important things. The first one is that every sync pair has 1 strength and 1 weakness. This is not one-to-one with other Pokemon games. Don't go by Pokemon game types from other games because it will not help you in the long run. You can see from the main page here, Pikachu is an electric type. He has his little Thunderbolt up under your trainer's name. And you can see when you expand the details that his weakness is ground. And having an electric Pokemon being weak to ground is not new. It's not groundbreaking, but I wanted to show another example so you know what I'm talking about. Let's look at Ponyta here with Blaine. You might say, okay, we've got a fire Pokemon here. Their weakness is going to be water. And so when you go up against Blaine and Ponyta, your instinct might be to pull out a water type sync pair. But if you open this up, you can actually see Ponyta's weakness here is rock, meaning a better matchup against Ponyta would be something like Brock and Onyx sync pair. You can always see the Pokemon's weakness going into battle, so just make sure you pay attention to that and don't take their type at face value and assume you know what the weakness is going to be. The other important and probably not obvious thing that I want to call your attention to is roll, which is right in the middle left of the screen here for Pikachu. Every sync pair is categorized into one of 3 roles. There's Strike, which is what Pikachu is, Tech, and Support. And I'll put the symbols on the side of the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Strike has a fist on it, Support is a heart, and Tech is a little exclamation point. So let's start with Strike Pokemon while I have Pikachu up here. Strike Pokemon are basically, their focus is dealing damage. They're offensive move types typically, and they come into 2 varieties. You have special attack strike types and physical attack strike types. Pikachu here is electric type attack, so it makes sense that he has special attack strike, and it's noted in that fist being surrounded by a circle. And let's look at a Pokemon sync pair that has physical attack strike. I think a good example would be, here we go, Corina and Lucario. So if we look at Lucario's little fist under roll, it's surrounded by that kind of jagged bubble, for lack of a better term, I'm not sure. So that's kind of an intricacy that you don't have to worry too much about, but it matters when it comes to certain battles. The next role I think we should look at will be support. So support Pokemon focus on buffs for their allies, things like healing. It's exactly what it sounds like. They're supporting their allies. How about Stoutland and Charon? So here, if you look at Stoutland's moves, he's got full heal, which makes sense. You can use that to heal your allies. Apply Yourself increases the move gauges of all allied sync pairs by 2. And even if you look at his passive skill, makes it so that when he's affected by a status condition, the move gauge will charge more quickly, which is something that helps all of the Pokemon, all of the sync pairs in your team. So essentially, all of Charon and Stoutland's moves are supporting the other allies on your team. And last but not least, we have Tech Roll. And the tech role is somewhat between support and strike. Basically, the tech role is about debuffing your enemy. It's about putting restrictions on your enemies, things like poisoning them, paralyzing them, trapping them in a move type, things like that. So a good example of a tech might be, let's look at Whitney and Miltank. Where are they? Oh, there they are. The reason Whitney and Miltank are a strong example of a tech roll, and you can see the tech roll has that little exclamation point down in that little slot there, are if you look at Miltank's moves, this one is Body Slam, has a moderate chance of leaving the target paralyzed. Stomp has a moderate chance of making the target flinch. The Rolling Tackle sync move that Miltank has, its power increases if the target is paralyzed. Things like that. So tech specifically deals with ways that you can harm the enemy without doing direct attacks, direct offensive attacks like strike does. Okay, so roles aside, it's just kind of important to know those 3 roles, because when you're actually leveling up sync pairs, which we'll talk about in a later episode, the role does matter. You use different items depending on what their role is. So having a good variety will help you to balance out the items that you're using when leveling up. But we won't worry too much about that right now. Let's move on to move types and move sets. I want to talk a little bit about what you're actually looking at when you're looking at sync pairs and their move sets. Basically, by familiarizing yourself with the movesets of these sync pairs, you'll be more prepared to choose which sync pair is going to work the best in each battle scenario. There are certain moves that you wouldn't know the detail of unless you really paid attention to them, so it is helpful to look through the moves of your new sync pairs and really figure out what you want to use in battle. We aren't going to get into the battle mechanics in this video, that'll be another video as well, but a quick overview is that Pokemon have moves and attacks, and they also have trainer moves, and we'll look at that through Pikachu again. If you look at Pikachu's moveset here, he's got Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt, those are Pokemon attacks. He also has Potion and Jumpstart, those are actually trainer moves. And if you look at those, Potion is essentially the trainer applies a potion to one of the Pokemon on your team, or Jumpstart, which essentially the trainer says like, yeah, Jumpstart. For the most part, sync pairs do all have 2 Pokemon moves and 2 trainer moves, although that does vary a bit. Here I have Solgaleo, who has 3 Pokemon moves, I believe, 1, 2, 3, and 1 trainer move. There is some variation, but for the most part, you can count on having a couple Pokemon moves and a couple trainer moves. Trainer moves tend to be buffing you or your allies in a battle. Every Pokemon also has what's called a passive skill. Some have two. And let's go ahead and look at Pikachu's. Pikachu's is Endurance, which is if the Pokemon enters a battle with full HP, it allows it to endure one single overwhelming attack with 1 HP left. And that passive skill changes from sync pair to sync pair. Here we have Misty and Starmie. And Starmie occasionally removes all status conditions of all allied sync pairs after the Pokemon uses a move. That's pretty big. Typically, your sync pair will start with 2 moves and no passive move, and you have to unlock 2 of the moves using TMs, using other items for leveling them up, and you have to unlock the passive moves. We won't get into that today either, but this is a good way to look at what is available, even if you haven't fully unlocked that Pokemon yet. You can still go into your decks and you can see what moves they're capable of learning. Every Pokemon also has a sync skill, which is what you see, that little rainbowy lightning bolt sitting there. Pikachu's, as I mentioned, is called Thunder of Newfound Passion. And the sync skill is unique to every sync pair, so you're not going to find Thunder of Newfound Passion on another electric type Pokemon, but essentially it's one strong move that you unlock as part of the battle mechanic, and you get to use, and it's a big deal. Now, some sync pairs do operate a little bit differently, and I will pull one of them up. Let's see, how about Blue and Pidgeot. So, some Pokemon have Mega Evolutions. Pidgeot is an example of that. So, as you can see right now, Pidgeot has Air Slash and Air Cutter as his Pokemon moves. However, after he uses World Swallowing Hurricane, his sync skill, he actually Mega Evolves. And you can see I just hit that little kind of like DNA looking button that's attached to Pidgeot's picture, and that shows his Mega Evolution of Mega Pidgeot. And that actually changed his moveset. So when Pokemon that have Mega Evolution capability evolve, they do get a change in their moves. So that is an important thing to take note of. And it's actually not just Mega Evolution Pokemon. I'll show you another example right now of Mew. So Mew doesn't Mega Evolve, but he does have pre-sync moves and post-sync moves, which operate the same way as Mega Evolution. Before Mew uses his sync move, he has Swift, Psychic, X-Speed, and a World of Dreams. But after he uses it, he now has Fire Blast, Psychic, Thunder, and Blizzard. So when you get new sync pairs, it's definitely helpful to come in, click around, see what moves you're working with or that you will be working with after you fully level up your Pokemon, and check out and see if they have any different things going on with them. Like Mew has the pre and post sync moves, some Pokemon have Mega Evolutions, stuff like that. And last but not least, one final feature I want to talk about with sync pairs is evolution. We're not going to get too far into the evolution mechanic today, but there are some Pokemon in Pokemon Masters who do evolve. So let's look at Brendan and Trico as an example of a Pokemon that evolves. You can actually flip through the different evolutions. Right under Trico's name, you can see the numbers 1, 2, 3. You can actually swap. If I hit the 2, it shows me Grovyle. If I hit the 3, it shows me Sceptile. So by doing that, you can see the stats are mostly what changes between evolutions, but I do want to also show you that the sync move changes between evolutions. So right now we have Trico. The sync move shows as Grass Sync Impact with no additional effect. As Grovyle, Grass Sync Impact with no additional effect. But as Sceptile, we have Leaf Blade of Sundering. No additional effect, but it's a stronger sync move than the previous 2 evolutions had. So that about covers everything that you need to look at and know and understand about sync pairs in Pokemon Masters. And by getting familiar with these things, by equipping yourself with this knowledge, it'll make you a better trainer in the long run. It'll help you understand other things as they come up, like leveling up, like evolution. What do you have to do in order to make your sync pairs the strongest they can be, and how can you choose the sync pairs that are going to be the most effective in your battles? In the next video in the series, we'll be exploring all of the items in the game, how to find them, where to get them, and how to use them. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in learning more of in-depth Pokemon Masters stuff. I am going to keep myself to Pokemon Masters Mondays on my YouTube channel, but I have to admit I picked a terrible, terrible week to start this trend, this weekly thing, because I'm going away to PAX East most of this upcoming week and all of the weekend. So I'm not going to have time to put together part 2 of this series. So instead, this upcoming Monday, we're going to do something more low-key, maybe look at one of the events or stream, and we'll pick up the series, the beginner series, the week following that. Anyway, now that we know a bit more about sync pairs, let's pull some, see what we get. I still need Steven and Metagross, so that's what I really like to pull. I don't have enough to do Sync Pair Scout times 10. Maybe next week I will, but right now let's just do maybe 3 regular Sync Pair Scouts. I think that'd be good. And that'll cost me 900 gems. Right now I have 600. That seems fine. Let's go. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Something good. I'll take it. I do want more and more of these 3-star level ups, which we'll talk about in the level up episode, but the 3-star power ups will help me increase my 3-starred sync pairs into something a little bit stronger than what I have now. Let's try again. My animation here is a little cropped a little weird. Sorry about that. It's not a 5-star.
I'm headed toward a hole in one.
But I leveled up the sync move, so better than nothing. Alright, one more. Finger crossed. There's a 10% chance for 5-star, so could happen. Not 5-star. Is it 4-star? I have a lot of that sync pair. Okay, maybe just one more. Just fingers crossed. One more. Come on. 5-star? 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 Brendan. So I do already have Brendan. I've got him twice apparently. This is my 3rd Brendan and Trico. You know, I'm not even mad because Brendan and Trico is one of my favorite sync pairs. So leveling up their sync move, very happy for it. I still want Steven and Metagross, so maybe I'll get that next week. But whew, I'm happy that we got a 5-star. Yay! Alright, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to this new series. I would love to know if you're also playing Pokemon Masters. I also wanted to give a thank you to DNA, the developer of this game. I'm working with them a little bit as a Pokemon Masters partner, and applications are open for other Pokemon Masters partners. So if you play Pokemon Masters and you produce any kind of content on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, I'll put the link down below. Feel free to apply. It's a cool program, and I'm pretty sure they're always looking for new people that would be a good fit, so that'd be good. I have a feeling I'll be playing a lot of this in line next week when I'm at PAX East, waiting for certain demos and things like that. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Love you. Mwah. Tiku, tiku, tiku. Da-na-na-na-na-na. 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 Da-na-na-na-na-na.